December 3rd, 1976 at 8:30 p.m. Legend Bob Marley found himself staring down the wrong end of the barrel of an automatic weapon. And what happened next will shock you. Hello to all my beautiful people out there. Y'all already know it's your internet best friend, Nia Phantom, and what we have before us today is a case that's crazy. It's a crazy one. Extra crazy points because it's something that still happens today. Trust me. Disclaimer, if y'all are rustling sounds like this, that's my blanket. Okay? I wrap up, snuggle up in my blanket. It look cold where I live at right now. So, with that said, let's move along. Y'all already know the drill. If you would like to keep up with me on all socials, I'm the Nia Phantom on IG and Nia Phantom on everything else. To do the same for the podcast, it's 5W Phantom on everything. If you want to talk business, 5wphantom@gmail.com is the place to go. And with all the long talking out the way, let's get to it. As for trigger warnings, I don't feel as though there are any. I guess if guns and stuff of that nature scare you or make you feel uncomfortable, then you could go ahead and click off. Like, think to yourself, an attempted assassination. If any portion of something of that sort disturbs you, click off. Okay? Who was Bob Marley? Okay, we talking about the attempted assassination of this legend, but who was he? Born in 9 Mile, Robert Nesta Marley, otherwise known as Bob Marley, was the man who made the world groove in Jamaican tunes. Marley, an artist who was one of the faces of such a rich and vibrant culture, creating a type of music that made you move. It made you move. Like, you couldn't listen to Bob Marley, and you still can't without dancing, even if it was just bopping your head. Honestly, Marley's religious identity as Rastafarian, his support for Pan-Africanism, and his demand for marijuana being legalized made him the icon that he was. Like, legit, if you knew Bob Marley, everything that I just listed off checked every box of who this man was. He discovered solace in music even during turbulent times. He and his band didn't have to wait long to find success after recording the song One Love, or People Get Ready, for their debut album, The Wailing Wailers, in 1965. Bob Marley is famous for launching his musical career in 1963 after creating the Bob Marley and the Wailers band. So, like I mentioned earlier, he and his band didn't have to wait long to find success. That's the band that I was speaking about, the Wailers band. And though they split up in 1974, Marley moved on quickly to find a replacement group and carried on. Throughout his career, nothing could bring him down until the 1976 near-death incident. On December 3rd that year, so 1976, 7 men armed with guns raided Marley's utopian safe house at 56 Hope Road while he and his team were rehearsing for an upcoming concert in the home studio called Tough Gong. That's what they refer to it as, Tough Gong. So if you hear me say that, that's what I'm referring to. That safe house, or the place where they would go to rehearse, practice, basically. The gunman shot Marley's wife first in the head as she was leaving the house in her Volkswagen. Rita stopped to let another car drive into the compound through the gate, which was curiously unmanned. Now, when I see this, I didn't get what they was trying to say. Like, unmanned as in nobody in the vehicle, or unmanned as in it's only the driver and it's an empty vehicle. But they say curiously unmanned. Why would just one person driving into the compound make you curious? Like, I don't understand. I didn't get that part. Let me know if I slow, but moving on. As the other car passed, so it was two cars. As the other car passed, the gunman shot at her from the passenger seat, and luckily, the bullet grazed across her scalp, leaving her bloody but alive. Now, if y'all didn't know Bob Marley, this story would have had you in a tight. Because when I was researching it and reading through it, I was like, she get shooting her head. But last time I checked, she was alive the same time that Bob Marley was. So she couldn't have died from it. So I kind of spoiled it for myself by knowing what was going on. Either way, the two assassins were more interested in the house where the Whalers were rehearsing. So I don't know if they just was trying to take Rita out for being where she was at the time, because they didn't really care for her. They really cared about who was inside. Bob Marley, the Whalers. At the moment when the gunman broke in, we were rehearsing. These tongue twisters. At the moment when the gunman broke in, we were rehearsing. They were rehearsing I Shot the Sheriff. Eyewitness Tyrone Downey, a keyboardist, recalled, according to So Much Things to Say. Not sure if that was a podcast or whatever the case may be, but that's where his statement was taken from. Bob had stepped out because the horns weren't on that record and the horn players wanted to play on it. He came out of rehearsal and went into the kitchen to get a grapefruit or something. All of a sudden, you see a hand come through the door, like around the door. This was Tyrone Downey's recollection of what happened. So I ain't sure how the tough gun was set up, but he said from where he was, he saw a hand come through the door or around the door. So I guess where they practice is kind of close to the entrance. So he said he saw the hand come around the door or come through the door and started to fire their .38 caliber weapon. Following Marley's manager, Don Taylor, who was unaware at the time, into the galley kitchen, they opened fire with 2 automatic weapons each. 4 weapons, 4 guns blazing at you out of nowhere. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I wouldn't know how to get away with this or get away from this. But let's see what he did. The band and family members ran for cover as bullets tore apart drummer Carly Barrett's stool. Some managed to flee the premises while others got caught in the crossfire and had to make their way to the bathroom for shelter. As for Bob, finding himself at the wrong end of the barrel, he tried so hard to avoid he couldn't move. He only avoided the shot aimed dead at his chest because Taylor, his manager, pushed him to the floor. The bullet caught him in the arm where it stayed until his eventual death in 1981. Since doctors told Marley that removing it might damage the use of his fingers, which we already know wasn't happening because he played the guitar. So I was leaving that right where it was. Get comfy. Stay right there because now you're a part of me. Taylor and Louise Griffin, a band employee, also got shot in the leg and torso. Not sure who got shot where, they didn't specify, but I'd say maybe Taylor, the one who was in the kitchen with Bob, got shot in the torso because he kind of was a shield for Bob Marley. So that's my intelligent guess. I ain't sure, but let me know. By some miracle, the gunman fled the scene soon after shooting Marley, leaving behind 0 casualties. Either by good fortune or poor aim, the bullet aimed at Marley skidded off his chest, lodging in his arm, like I told y'all. While wife Rita, although shot in the head while disembarking from a vehicle, survived the hit, like I also told y'all. Just reiterating so y'all could catch my drift. Marley's manager, Don Taylor, sustained serious injuries from being shot in the leg. Okay, boom. So he was the one who was shot in the leg, and Louise Griffin got shot in the torso, which is crazy. The victims were rushed to the university hospital where they were treated. Okay. This story is kind of let me try to find a word for y'all. This story kind of piece, and y'all will catch why soon. It's like a story or a case that the people behind it wouldn't want anyone to know about. So it's short. It don't really add up too heavy. I was like, excuse me, this it. But as for justice, both Taylor and Marley were present at the ghetto court in which the gunman who shot Marley and the others were tried and executed. There goes that. Y'all could calm down. Ease your brain, ease your head. And according to Taylor, before one of the shooters was killed, he claimed that the CIA signed them up to kill Marley in exchange for cocaine and guns. Y'all that low down. Y'all Johnson. Y'all that what? Cocaine and guns, bro. That y'all ain't even get. Cause y'all get catch. Y'all is goners. So y'all was trying to kill me off air basically. Y'all was trying to take me out for nothing. Cause you're part of the deal. You ain't never getting it. Like, come on, bro. Cocaine and guns. It's never that serious. But when I saw that, and like I just said, once again, I'm confused. Why? What's going on? Why would the CIA set two random humans up to take Bob Marley out? The answer to your question is, during the 1970s, at the brink of the Cold War, any person that was talking about the Western system, referring to America specifically, would sooner or later receive a visit from the Central Information Agency, otherwise known as the CIA. We already know this. Political tensions heightened in Jamaica due to the approaching elections between the CIA-backed Jamaican Labour Party and the People's National Party, linked to Cuba and Russia. The main issue the CIA identified was the majority of... Okay, let me reword that for y'all. So the main issue that the CIA claimed, like that was their issue with Bob Marley, it was that his song spoke about the populace rising up against those in society who were in charge. So basically, the people, right, versus the government, or versus the higher ups. Like them catching sense, them figuring out what's really going on. Like he was trying to make us aware of what was really going on, and they didn't like that. So with the high tensions caused by current issues and political events, a revolution or perhaps a civil war was the last thing that America needed at the time. So they thought that Marley, his songs and what he was putting out, what he stood for, would have caused a civil war or a revolution of some kind. Like Marley mentions it in many of his songs, such as Rat Race, that the CIA is trying to stop him from achieving his goal of spreading peace and equality through revolution. Marley's significant impact over developing nations in the Caribbean and Africa was a significant factor in the CIA's involvement in all of this. So they chose him out of the batch. They chose him out of the hundreds of Jamaican artists, or artists on the whole at the time, I guess, because he had such a significant impact over the nations that they were in control of, like the Caribbean, Africa, Russia, Cuba, whatever, you name it, right? That's what called for their involvement in his music. Another theory that has been debunked many times, yet people still believe, and I believe it as well, because it don't add up to me. People still believe is that Marley was actually injected with cancerous cells in his body by the CIA, and that is why he died of cancer. The cancer from which Marley died is referred to as melanoma, which is a skin cancer that develops mostly from the chest, back, or legs. Melanoma is quite rare and strange to see if it develops at such a young age. Another interesting thing is that this type of cancer develops very quickly, and if not treated early, there is no chance of survival. Or at least there wasn't none in 1981. Come on. You couldn't take me out by gunning me down till you find the next best thing. Something that'll take me out before I even get to figure out what it is with sense. Something that'll take me out before my doctors even figure out what it is with sense. And y'all telling me he randomly catch this rapidly growing disease out of nowhere. Where was it before? Why it just randomly happened after the attempted assassination? Like, I don't get what y'all say. I don't get how much y'all debunk this. It's no. After his assassination attempt in 1976, Marley tried to stay hidden from the public and away from danger. This made it more difficult for the CIA to plan an assassination attempt. So, another one. Therefore, a sharp piece of metal purposefully inserted into a pair of runners provided to Marley by a CIA operative posing as a freelance photographer who sought him out in hiding after the assassination attempt was used to inject him with a potent strain of cancer. Let me break that down for y'all. So after the initial assassination attempt in 1976, Marley was hiding, as he should, because this ain't just no random person trying to get me. That's the government. Okay, boom. He was hiding. A CIA operative posing, acting as a freelance photographer, sought him out in hiding. So he found him, obviously. He inserted a sharp piece of metal into a pair of tennis provided to Marley. Like, he provided it to Marley. He gave the shoes to Bob Marley with the sharp piece of metal inside that contained the potent strain of cancer. Melanoma, same thing that he just died from. People, help me. Help me understand now. That sound like it. That sound like it. Like, that ain't just a made up story, bro. Like, that sound like that came from somebody who knows what happened. There had been another theory discussed by USA Today News, which states that an ex-CIA agent confessed on his deathbed that he played a role in the death of Bob Marley. Once again, no names were mentioned, and you would not have much of a motive. What do you mean? The other two dudes who was executed would have been given cocaine and guns. You don't know what this man was getting because he didn't tell y'all. It very much could have been a motive there, just like how them two dudes wanted to kill him off for cocaine and guns. Like, come on, let's not just shrug this off. And now the case closed because nobody really getting it going. Nobody thinking. Like, which obviously I don't think they could have at the time because it's the CIA, bro. It's the government. Everybody was getting shut up. So I could see why or how the case was closed that easily. Just leaving it at the fact that he died from cancer. But bro, anyways, they said that this theory of the person confessing on the deathbed was debunked because there was no agent or any deathbed confession. And all the CIA's motive was to stop the politically progressive music that Marley made. The music that made the people feel like, or made us feel like we have control over ourselves, which we do, but the government makes us feel like we can't move a certain way, we can't say certain things, or we can't think a certain way because it's out of pocket. Like, that ain't not supposed to go. And he was waking us up. They didn't like that. So, but this, my loves, concludes the attempted assassination of the Bob Marley. If you'd like to view more of the information, including all of the details and the ins and outs of what happened following the event, all links used to source my information can be found in the description of this episode. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed learning about this occurrence, because before researching different topics for my podcast and coming across this one, I knew nothing about it. Next episode is everything Richie Edwards. If you don't know who he is, you will know next week. So hit that notification bell. Follow my podcast so you will be early to find out. And with that said, I love you. See y'all next week and stay beautiful. Toodles.